I'd like to call the meeting to order for June 3rd, 2013. It is now approximately 7 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by sending a notice on December 21st, 2012 to the Bergen Record and the Ridgewood News, by positioning notice of the meeting on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall and filing a notice with Madam Clerk Denise Don Diego. I'd like to remind the public that there are 3 fire exits in the council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the back. We are on the record. Everything is being said and heard, is being recorded by audio tape and by video. During the public portion of the meeting, if you wish to be heard as well as seen, you need to give us your name and address and approach the microphone to the front of the dais. Can I have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Murphy.
Here.
Councilman Eccleston.
Present.
Councilman Pacola.
Here.
Councilman Rizzo.
Here.
Councilman Guadalupe.
Here.
Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Mascarotola.
Present. All right, before beginning with Mr. Smart's presentation, I'd like to call forward Arthur Duramo, our new Code Enforcement Officer, and introduce him to the council. Artie, come forward.
Good evening.
It's not on the agenda. What? Arthur DeRosa. What did I say?
Duramo.
Duramo.
Whatever.
Oh, you Italian.
Good job.
Everyone messes your name up.
One vowel's as good as another?
Yeah.
They're all the same, right?
They call out font sometimes.
Oh, me.
Any questions for Arthur?
Mr. DeRosa, I just wanted to make sure that, are you aware of the history of our code enforcement and that we have not had really enforcement of our code?
It seems to be drifting my way quite a bit from residents that I've met within the past week that I've been here. They seem to be more than happy to come running out to see somebody looking at these properties, and I don't know, keeping them a little bit happy. They're thrilled that somebody's there, which seems to be fun, and I'll do my best to, I have to take care of it.
Yes, I just wanted to share with you my concern. My concern is that summons are actually written. I mean, of course, there's a process, write a letter first, and I think there's 11 days. But it's my concern that we have not written summons. And so I wanted to share with you at least my concern. I know others on the council might share the same, that we actually do enforce it and we don't allow things to linger.
Right.
And I think that's the feeling of the residents too.
I had a meeting with the mayor today. We talked informally for a little while, and I got the book in the car. We're ready to go.
He has
And
a
I already
summons
have
book.
quite a list of properties that seem to be sitting for quite a long time, and a lot of residents are concerned. They come right out as soon as I pull up with the car.
Yeah, I think we're all very frustrated with...
Well, I'll give it a shot. I'm sure. I think I can show some results here.
Excellent.
He's got his summons book. He has a copy of the maintenance code. He has an ID issued by the borough to show who he is. He has the list of the emails and the letters that we've been receiving, expressing concerns of the residents in town regarding some of the properties. I think he's already been out there and inspecting everything on the list, and he's preparing the letters to go out and beginning to issue summonses.
And if there should be any obstacles, you'll come back and report to us.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll help expedite...
That's what we're supposed to do, is let this thing walk the road and get some results. Everybody's looking for results out there.
Yeah.
Kathleen?
Yes, I'm the guy for that.
Just wanted to make it known to you that there used to be a garbage can up at the strip mall where the Asian supermarket is.
All right.
Now it's a shopping cart with a box.
Oh, that doesn't fly.
No, so if you could just go up there and have a look.
I'll be happy. I'll drive past there on the way out of here tonight.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right. Mr. DeRosa, your briefcase is right behind you.
Thank you, sir. First impression, I leave my panties.
All right.
I'm trying. All right, guys, any questions, please? You can get my number to Mayor. Everybody's got it. Anything you need, I'm more than willing. I live in Paramus, and I'm pretty available.
We're excited about your presence.
Oh, I'm excited too. I hope I can do a good job. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Mr. Smart and Mr. Gordon here. Come on up. Mayor, if I may, while they're coming up, we have received a proposal from their firm. It's divided into several tasks. They're here tonight to go over that proposal with you and describe what services they will render for that proposal. I would like to also disclose that the compensation part of that proposal entails that they would receive 1/3 of the amount based on your acceptance of the agreement, and then the following amounts would be upon completion of the tasks. But I would leave it to them, Mayor, to describe the tasks in detail for the Mayor and Council. All right, thank you, Mr. Negrian. Can we have your appearances, please?
My apologies, I'm sorry.
Just give us your names for the record.
I'm Don Smart.
I'm Mark Gordon. Okay. And you can begin your... I know we have questions, but we'll let you have the floor for a while.
Well, thank you. This is our second appearance before you. It's been a continuing conversation, and I hope to continue it to your satisfaction. You've asked us to help you answer for yourselves, first and foremost, whether or not there is benefit, value, and appropriateness in your considering the use of one or more business or special improvement districts as authorized under the statutes of the state of New Jersey for your community. We intend to help you answer your questions to your satisfaction. There are no presuppositions on our part. You may find and conclude that there is no benefit, no value, and it is inappropriate for you to use those vehicles. Our job is to simply help you get the answers to the questions that you have. Since we last met, apparently 2 other issues have emerged that you would like to draw upon our substantial experience, and we happen to have experience that closely correlates to the questions as I've been given to understand them. You would like us to assist you in examining the creation of shopper parking for businesses on North Kindercarmack on property that you own on Grove Street. We'd be very glad to help you assist and assess that. We both bring a substantial amount of both public and private experience to examining parking, and we'd be very glad to assist you in answering that question. Also, we would be glad to assist you in examining the usefulness of encouraging transit-oriented development at the Newbridge Landing, New Jersey Transit train station. Again, these are all part of our examination of the use of a special improvement district or business improvement district, and those were some of the issues that were brought to our attention. We don't consider them tremendously complicated, either should you. If you decide to go forward with them, that would be another discussion for others. But for now, we're very content to help you answer your own questions about these items.
What about the idea of having some type of forum for the business owners and the community at large, so we can decide, so we could hear what they want to, so we can put together a vision? Have you done that before?
Have we done this before? Certainly. We have the scars to show it. The proposal offers to work with you in organizing at least 2 public forums of a size, shape, and configuration that's consistent with how you do things in your community. So we're committed to doing that with you.
Okay. Any questions, Alphonse?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just this afternoon, I was looking at the Greater Riverdale Chamber of Commerce, and listed as members, now I don't know if they haven't updated their website in some time, but they only listed 29 businesses.
Out of the entire community.
Out of the entire community, only 29 businesses were there.
If that is consistent with what I know about chambers, that's about 10% of the businesses, 15% of the businesses that operate in any community.
how do we get more people, because you want to go to the businesses, but if they're not associated already with the group that you can contact, it makes things obviously more difficult, because then you have to reach out to each individual business. How do we get the businesses first, I think, together so that they're willing and want to be part of an improvement district?
Well, first of all, communication is key. There are various strategies to reach out to key stakeholder groups. The first stakeholder group is the commercial property owners that have businesses that are occupied by business operators. Commercial property owners, and then those who operate businesses within them. So there are a variety of means that you can use. Your fire code officials or your police officials may have lists of fire alarms, smoke alarms. That's one way to call a list. So, you know, there are lots of tricks of the trade that I've learned from others who have taught me, and I'd be very glad to share them with your staff and yourselves.
Ed?
Finish.
My next question, no, go ahead, because it's a separate question, so maybe you'll reach it. Go ahead. I'll yield my time.
Ed, and then Kathleen, and then back to back to Alphonse.
I'm not much of an advocate for a visioning study, and I think we need to be more proactive. We spent a lot of money on visioning studies for the downtown, and came up with 3 development plans and spent close to $200,000, and nothing to show for it. But I have already a proposal, but have you been involved? I'm sure you have been involved, or maybe part of this can be something a little more proactive about marketing River Edge. Do you work with retail recruiters or leasing agents or folks like that who can actually put together a plan to help connect the business owners or the landlords with prospective tenants also, and find out which companies may be interested in looking for space in this area?
Councilman, I have done this a lot, and I've learned a lot. And one of the key things that I've learned is that there are people already marketing their community. They're spending tens of thousands of dollars a year to market their individual properties. The realtors are spending money. Your media, North Jersey Media Group, is spending money. The banks are spending money. But they're spending it without talking to each other and finding a common cause. One of the issues that you can put on the table is, can we work together to do this for at least a brief period of time to have a common message? When communities extend that invitation, occasionally they find that people will adhere to it, come to it, say yes. And that's part of the strategy for investigating and grabbing their interest. When you even talk about a special improvement district, you're talking about a mandatory taking of money. And I'm sure it's been your experience, for those of you who have served on council for more than one session. If you propose a tax increase, you suddenly have caught everyone's attention. Even talking about it is a way to get them engaged. And so I think there are a lot of proactive activities that you can engage in, but the first one you've already taken. You invested another $15,000, not $200,000. You've invested $15,000 in us. And part of our job is to help you be as proactive as your community wishes you to be. If we succeed in working with you, and let's just say, because I certainly don't know, let's say you have 150 properties that are commercially assessed, and they're owned by approximately 125 business entities. And we reach out to those 125 business entities, and we do the strategies that I know that will catch their interest. This is an invitation because we're thinking about taxing you. The corporations in Texas that own the gas station won't pay attention to it. And, another tax, we'll just send it to our bookkeeping department. But if you have 125 business owners you're going to catch the attention of 10, 15, 20, 25. And if you put 25 commercial property owners in the room, it will probably, and I'm guessing, but it will probably be the first time you've ever seen 25 commercial property owners from your community in the same room for any purpose. These are strategies that work. If we can get them into the same room, we can talk and find common ground. Whether or not it means taxing them is irrelevant. Finding common ground is what this investigation is all about. How many vacancies do they have? Do they have a sense that they're on their own in filling them? Do they feel isolated? Do they feel put upon by the code enforcement official? Apparently he's new, and apparently your previous code official wasn't as aware of your heightened desire for increased code enforcement. So maybe you can find common cause, which may or may not lead to a special improvement district. By the way, a special improvement district does not mean you have to have a financial levy. You can set up a cohesive district. You can manage that district in a variety of ways without charging an extra penny. You can set up the equivalent of your own Chamber of Commerce in a way that mandates 100% participation without charging a penny. So those are the kinds of things that I'd like to share with you. None of them may make any sense to you, but at least I'll put them on the table.
Yeah, that's the approach I'm looking for. I mean, I'm sure we all get approached by various residents, you know. I've been approached like, oh, when we're finished downtown, we're going to be like Westwood, or we're going to be like Ridgewood, or why can't we have this store or that store? And I don't think you could work from what people want and then bring it in. I think you have to go, like you're saying, go to the collective business community and the property owners to see what's available and what may fit to come in. So that's why I like that. I do like that approach better. So we're on the same page with that. So
Kathleen?
Good.
thank you.
I want to thank you for coming again. I spoke to Tommy Riley, Bergenfield. He sends his regards. I just had a question about the Chamber of Commerce. We have a combined one with Oradell, and some of the business owners here don't want to, they want to have it concentrated in River Edge. If we're doing it here, they don't want to have to put any thought into that. So do you think it'd be a good idea to resurrect just a River Edge Chamber of Commerce?
Well, first of all, Chambers of Commerce's have an inherent challenge. They must justify their existence to their members, who are the ones who pay. And since only about 10 to 15% of the businesses actually invest in that kind of a vehicle, it is very difficult to promote a community, much less a larger business community, with only 10 to 15% of those people actually put money on the table. So a Chamber of Commerce, one of the reasons the state created this vehicle was that it isn't voluntary, it isn't membership-based, and it's completely funded at the level that you and the business community want it to be. You no longer have to put up holiday lights or banners and ask 15% of the business community to fund them for the rest. So my suggestion to you, my question to you, Mark's question, and I to you would be, how do we engage your business community, and to what extent do you wish to talk to a joint Chamber of Commerce? My suggestion would be to engage them and see where we can all work together. Promoting yourselves regionally makes a lot of sense, especially when you do business recruitment. You have to be part of a larger demographic. If you try to recruit a Starbucks on the basis of only your demographics, you're not going to meet their standard. You have to look, and Mark, after our last meeting, you asked us a question, and Mark was able to get you the answer about how many people actually use the rail stop. You need to know how many cars pass through. You need to know where they're coming from, where they're going to. And on the basis of that traffic count, that may prove to be helpful to a commercial property owner who's looking to lease their space.
And the other question I have is, that I find is we have no connection to the real estate agents. with these vacant properties, and I know in Fairlawn, on their site there, it comes up if there's a vacant property. We drive around and we see, oh, look, what's going in there? We don't even know,
Right.
what businesses are coming in. So,
I can tell you this, with your cooperation, we will seek to engage all the commercial brokers that are situated in your community. We will seek to engage all the commercial brokers whose signs are there. And something that you will hear about, we will seek to engage the regional commercial brokers who are interested in making money off your community. And I tell you that right now because the local brokers won't like that. But we will work with you to engage the real estate community and the financial community who makes mortgages here. So those are the kinds of strategies Mark and I will be working with your staff, and I want to underscore, this is a staff effort on our part. From this point of view, this is a staff effort. I won't be linking up to the fire department. That would be something for your administrator to do, but we'll make the suggestion, we'll pull the list together, and we'll try to work something out so that we all work together to get you what you want.
thank you.
Vito?
Thank you, Mayor. We have heard, at least I have heard, since I got on the job in January, that we're not a business-friendly town. So the hiring and the charging of a brand-new code enforcement, I hope, will not perpetuate that notion. Quite the contrary. But my question is simply, will part of your analysis, intervention, whatever word you please to use, point to us the obvious and the not so obvious things that we need to do to stop this being perceived as non-business friendly and perhaps promote welcoming businesses to town?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When we have these meetings, we're going to ask them in writing and perhaps even with a written survey. What's the three best things? What's the three worst things? What's the three things this town could do to help you rent your space? So yes, we'll get you their answers, not ours, their answers.
Of course. Thank you.
Alphonse?
Thank you, Mayor. In looking at River Edge, have you thought of whether or not there should be one overlay district over the entire community, or what I would be more open to, I think, would be two separate districts, one that encompasses the south end of town as one entity, and then another which would encompass Kinderkamak, because you are dealing with different types of shops, different size buildings, so I'm wondering what your thought is as to whether it should be maybe two, or even maybe more than two districts, or just one large district.
Mark has a real background in zoning and planning. I'm sure he has an opinion.
I think it's a little bit too early to say. That's part of what we're going to recommend. But you're absolutely right. On the south end, you have larger stores, medium boxes, bigger boxes. Kinderkamak, you have two retail areas of more traditional retail. And part of what we'll be recommending to you in looking at the feasibility of a district is whether it should be 1, 2, or 3.
You have choices. The nice thing about this state legislation is you get to write the plan. You can define it just about any way you want, and we'll take you through the choices, if you end up wanting to do this.
Kathleen?
Just one other thing. I feel like we have to be competitive against other towns. Like, there's only so many businesses, and we want them, or to draw them in. Do you work with like a PR, or is there some kind of marketing people that you work with so that we can highlight what's good?
The short answer is yes. In point of fact, if you'll go visit our website, you'll find that we have two businesses. The first business is one that focuses only on organizing and planning for a business improvement district or a special improvement district or a commercial revitalization strategy that works with your community. That's the first side. That's the business that you've hired tonight, or will hire. The second business is a full-service team, and we're not the only firm. A full-service team that provides soup to nuts everything that a business district would want. Business recruitment, public relations, sanitation services, ambassadorial services. I'm sure some of you have gone online and have read a little bit about what we do, but we manage Journal Square in Jersey City. We have a $700,000 program there that provides 13 hours of sweeping, graffiti removal, ambassadorial services, homeless intervention services. So the short answer is we can do it all right now. We don't have any preconceptions about what it is you want or need. You do. My job, Mark's job, is to simply answer the question, can a special improvement district, or an improvement district, let's shorten it. It's called special or business throughout the legislation, but it's an improvement district. Does this vehicle help you? And if it does, what pieces of it helps you? Is it just the organizational piece, the overlay district, or two? Is it the management piece? Because once you create the overlay district, you can have a management entity, which could be a chamber of commerce. It could be a business association. Scotch Plains, not Scotch Plains, New Providence has a business association managing their special improvement district. And then once you manage it, well then, what money do you want to raise within the managed district to pay for whatever it is you want to pay for? So there are each one of these steps. Alan and I were talking last week, and Mark and I are going to very quickly, I would say very quickly, we're going to find out whether or not you have the financial carrying capability to even consider a special improvement district. First piece of information. And it's relatively easy to acquire with your administrator's help. So that's the first thing. You've heard the phrase, beer budget, Cadillac dreams. If you can't finance it, there's no point in having a dream. So that's the key thing. So we will try to get to that very quickly with your administrator's help.
How far?
You mentioned rehabilitating areas and how to bring them up. We've had redevelopment attorneys come here and talk to us, and the prospect of designating various areas in need of redevelopment seems too daunting. The legal challenges are too much. Most likely would not be fruitful. But what we could do is have areas in need of rehabilitation. That way, in terms of marketing areas, we can't offer long-term tax abatements, but you can offer short-term. Is that something that you think would be helpful in certain areas to start designating them, going through the process of them being rehabilitation zones? That way, we can offer something to attract businesses in.
Well, let Mark take the first shot.
Okay. Well, in looking at the potential for a business district and looking at the viability, and as Don says, we have to look at what sort of revenue it might throw off. We will also take a look at some of the different sections of the community, and to the extent that some are underutilized, we'll look at potential strategies to look at them. One of the areas you've mentioned in the scope is the area around the train station, where you did spend $200,000. You had Tony Nelson, and there was a lot of visioning and stuff, but quite frankly, nothing has happened, and there may be some economic reasons for that. So we'll look at that with you, and we'll also see if that sort of thinking applies to some other areas.
You might contrast us to Tony, for those of you who went through the process. We're incremental people. we're small business people. We think of what we can do day after tomorrow rather than 20 years from now. So you can count on that. I've been very lucky in my life to work with a lot of small business owners who've taught me a lot. And I've worked with a lot of people in government who've also taught me a lot, and that is, there's a time and a place for a large vision, but there's also a time and a place to look at what can pragmatically be done within 18 months, 24 months. So we think there is an opportunity associated with your rail station. We think there is an opportunity associated with several properties that are available for redevelopment. We look forward to including those in our discussions and seeing where they can go for you. It's not our job to take you there. It's only our job to say, this is a window or a door that you might want to go through. Or this is a door, if you go through it, there really isn't a point. And you can reject that. People do frequently reject our advice. But those who take our advice, quite frankly, are the ones you read about. That's the difference.
And just to take the train station example, you can look at what would you do if the site were fully developed, and you have to provide a lot of parking to make that happen. Maybe there's a smaller increment. You could do one piece, one aspect to get something going there, and it might tie in with something you're doing on the next block or two.
And for those of you who, Mark doesn't have as big a footprint, he's much more humbler than I am on the internet, but you should check out what he has done in his career when he wasn't with the Carter's White House budget team. Check out what he was doing for New Jersey Transit. He brings a wealth of experience that we specifically hope to apply here for your community in those areas.
Ed?
I was just going to ask about your relationship with transit, because it's been their desire to build a large parking structure, which takes up a vital piece of the redevelopment area, and the cost is so prohibitive to potential developers, they wind up having to put double, triple, quadruple amount of density that was originally proposed to pay it off. So would you be able to meet with them and maybe massage their expectations as to what they should be
I have an
looking to do down there?
excellent relationship with transit at all levels, and what you're saying, Councilman, is what I was hinting at in my remarks, is that transit looks at a parking facility, parking area, and says, well, we've got this many spaces there now, we might want some more in the future. And then if you have a mixed-use development with residential, housing, and retail, all of those uses will need some parking, and then the total number of spaces you need makes the project non-economic. No developer would touch it because they won't put that much investment in parking. So that's why I was saying there might be a smaller, a more incremental solution to the site that would be palatable to you and that we could discuss with transit.
Mark and I sort of like the bad cops and good cops of New Jersey Transit. I think you can get a sense which cop is what. You have to know how to negotiate with them. They are not going to negotiate with you unless you know which buttons to push, and we know which buttons to push.
But the other piece of that is you also have to really know what you want and have a consensus. If you're right, if you're divided, if half of you want Plan A and half of you want Plan B, you won't be a strong negotiating presence, with another governmental entity.
I'm curious, we're at June right now, and you said you're very pragmatic. I like that. You're incremental. I like that. How do you see us proceeding? Are we going to be proceeding in such a way that we might be getting some work done during the summer, or are we looking towards the fall? I mean, how do you envision our relationship moving forward? What would be the first meaningful report and decision-making events coming forward? What sort of timetable or agenda do you foresee? Because, to be very honest with you, this is a completely new experience for me, so I'd like your opinion on that, because I would like things to get done sooner rather than later.
Well, my overall sense is we'll be done with the entire process that we've outlined here by December. Completed. We will hand you our recommendations, which hopefully will be your recommendations before we hand them to you. We're looking to create a consensus. The consensus is the strongest thing that you can have moving forward in your negotiations on any issue with a public entity such as New Jersey Transit or a private entity such as a developer. To the degree to which you can agree is key to your success. So by December, we should have a handle on that and completed. Sometime in September, we should be at a point where you're comfortable with us that you know what kind of stakeholder discussions you want to have. No purpose in meeting, attempting to meet with stakeholders in July or August, but we can plan for those discussions. And by September, early September, you should, with us, have a complete sense as to the type of and extent of stakeholder discussions you want to have and what the agenda should be. That leaves us June, July, and August to answer some key questions about your carrying ability, about zoning. We have to find out, again, from staff predominantly, what you had in mind when you're talking about the New Bridge Landing train station. We have to get caught up on that. We also want to reach out and update from New Jersey Transit's perspective where they might think they are with you or on their own. You also have a number of major properties that apparently are under development or scheduled for development. We need to get caught up to speed from your point of view as to where these major developments sit. That may include our meeting with the developers to see what their perspectives are. So this is a degree of investigatory work that we really need to do. We need to work with your assessor and collector to get caught up on their current listings for property ownership so that we know which properties are within this discussion, which properties are not, and we will bring to you any anomalies that we see that you need to reconcile. In a nearby community, we're setting up a special improvement district, and Mark and I did the investigation as we are talking with you now, and we identified that there were several residential properties in the midst of the entire district. And it's a policy question. Do you wish to include those in your discussion, or do you wish to exclude them? And it took about 45 days for the policy issue to be decided on the mayor and council's part. So there'll be work undertaken in June, July, and August. Most of it will be quiet. It will involve the staff, and it will involve us putting together the databases so that we can come to you with a degree of authority that says, here are the realtors that are active in your community. Here's the ones that are in the community. Here's the ones whose signs are on the business. And here's the ones who want to be active in your community. That's a lot of work, most of which you won't see until we deliver it to you in September. From September on, we should be able to tell you the boundaries of where an overlay district might be, or multiple districts. We may be able to tell you, starting in September, where each one of these elements sits once we update ourselves. From September to November, we will generate the stakeholder meetings and all that follows from them. We will identify whether or not we want a written survey, whether or not we want a show of hands. We'll figure out all of that as we go along. But by October, we should have a real clear sense as to what your community has told us. All the community, not just yourself. And you'll want to know that. That's why we're interested in being here. You actually want to ask and you're going to listen to what they say. Whether or not you're going to act on what they tell you, that's entirely up to you. So I hope I've given you some...
No, it's an excellent response. Thank you. Yeah, I have a very clear vision, and thank you. I'm comfortable
And since
with
it's
that.
all on tape, you can hold it too.
Thank you, Mr. Smart. We have a lot of business to cover. I want to just say that I'm committed to building a consensus with this council so that we can give you, so we can focus your efforts where they're best expended, and that we can work together so that we can make the community a better place.
One quick question, Mayor, if I can. Oftentimes we hear about grants and loans, and the state doesn't have the money, they're not funded, we're not eligible. And I know we're not there yet because we don't have the organization in place, but how real are I know there's the Main Street Improvement District Challenge Grant, and there's also a loan program for 0% loans. How real are those? Like, you know, if we were looking at that in terms of our funding strategy, maybe down the road, how real are
Given
they?
the loan amounts that are available to you, I believe that you have the capacity, united, you have the capacity to raise the same amount of money through grants locally from your own business community.
All right,
Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right. The three matters that are on for discussion. First one is the appointment of the Bergen County Community Development Committee. Is it committee?
Committee.
I thought it was representatives. I recall having a conversation with Mr. Arakelian, who told me that this year they had changed the rules and were only allowing one representative instead of two. I need to confirm with Bergen County Community Development that that's correct or not before we move forward to appoint the representative.
There was only one representative, you're the original.
No, that can't be correct because I'm a representative. It was me and
Mr.
Mr. Arakelian. There were two representatives. And we had two representatives and we had an alternate.
They called the county, it just was 2 years ago, questioning this.
I know, that was 2 years ago. My conversation with Mr. Arakelian was a very recent one, where he said the rules had changed, so we have to confirm that. Let's move on to number two, the soil, but put that back on the agenda for the next meeting, please, Denise. Number two, the soil removal ordinance.
Mayor, when I first came on, one of the first discussions was to change the soil removal ordinance, exempting the 1- and 2-family houses for 100 yards of soil movement. I have provided you with those incorporations in the first ordinance I provided with you. It's in the bold caps that make those changes. Looking at your soil movement ordinance, though, I felt that instead of piecemealing it, you may want to consider doing some significant changes to it and overhauling it, looking at a lot of other ordinances. So just to give you other proposals, I provided you with a more comprehensive soil removal ordinance as alternative B that provides a lot more other issues or requirements, and it's just another alternative. But soil movement ordinance A is what was initially intended that you wanted initially in, so that's where we stand with that.
All right, does anybody have any comments or suggestions or preferences? Ed?
Yes, Mayor, I went back with the planning board and just looked at how many applications we've actually had since this ordinance was enacted. And basically, we've had 8 applications since 2008. So it really isn't a large number. And I think, speaking to that, at this point, we can go with the simpler version, but I'm not sure about the 100 number, because basically the ranges that we saw on the planning board ranged from a low of 130 cubic yards to a high of about 290, which is the one we had last month. And it all just had to do with excavation for a basement. and I think that's the way it needs to be written for an addition. We had 2 applications with a much larger amount of soil, but those are for new houses, not additions. And I don't think we'd want to exempt those because we did have some special concerns came up raised by Mr. Costa about when you start getting into quantities which are, 500 cubic yards, 700 cubic yards. So I'd rather keep it simple. I said it didn't affect a lot of applications, but it would have saved, 6 residents from having to go through the process of having to notify 200 feet and coming in for a planning board and delaying their borough building permits by 2 to 4 months and whatever it took to get to the schedule. So, like I said, I think the simpler the better in this case.
All right, so do you have a recommendation as to the yardage?
I would say, based on the history, we can say up to a maximum of 300.
300?
And only affecting basement excavation. The same caveats about not changing the grading or anything like that would stay. And it should be limited to additions, not new construction.
All right, any other comments? Vito?
Yeah, I have to agree with Ed. It's a reasonable amount, and it doesn't take a lot to get to 100 cubic yards when you're doing a basement, especially today's basements that tend to be at least an 8-foot clear ceiling, and then you have to allow for the excavation of footings and foundations, and that drives up the cubic yardage.
All right, so would you,
So I
would you second,
I would second the
second the
amended
motion
version
to
of
amend it
the,
to amend it
Yes,
to
I would.
300 yards? All right, good.
So
Any other
the-
comments?
The language, though, on the applications under B is fine, just want
I
to
think
change it
so.
to 300.
Yes.
Up to,
Because it's with an approved addition.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we'll have one draft. It'll be put on for first reading, and then we can get this done. Very good. Okay, next item is the senior bus. Yes.
Aye.
Aye for the amendment. All right, next is the senior bus. There was a request from the River Edge Fire Department to borrow the senior bus on Saturday, June 8th, to attend a event, New Jersey event. We have members of the fire department present. There was initially a determination that use of this senior bus would impact the legality of it due to the fact that we received the bus through a federal grant. And I asked our borough attorney to take a look at the issue, and he can give us his opinion, and then we can have a discussion and decide what we want to do.
How old's the bus? That's the only thing I didn't know. Is it within the 5-year period, or is it...
No,
It's 12, I think.
yeah, this is,
Usually after 5 years, the exclusivity of the grant expires, and you're able to use it for other things. So it's usually the 5 years. So if you're at 12 years now, you are able to use it for other things. The primary purpose and objective that you're using it for obviously still remains the same. There's nothing in it that says it has to be exclusively used for this and nothing else. To use it on occasion for something else that does not interfere, impact with its primary use, which is transportation of seniors. In other words, if you were doing it, if seniors had to go somewhere that day at that specific time and it interfered with it, you cannot then change it. My understanding is it doesn't at this point in time. So due to the age of it and due to the, it's a one-time thing, I have no problems with it being used for it.
Mayor?
Yes.
As long as the borough attorney has looked at some of the documents that I have looked at, I've looked at the application, I've looked at the contract, which was 2008, I see that now. The definition of public services and the federal guidelines on use of equipment, notwithstanding that, it's his opinion that this can be used, and so be it, if that's what mayor and council would like to do. But I would like to know who will drive the bus. Is it fire department personnel who will drive the bus? Is that the expectation?
Well, they have to have a CDL.
I have a CDL passenger endorsement. Right. Jim Levis is volunteering to drive it.
Chief, how many can you give us an estimate as to how many
6 maybe?
members on the bus are over 55?
Definitely 5.
Okay, good. All right,
That was
so-
going to be my comment, that many of the people will be seniors that will be taking the bus.
There you go, there you go.
So, it will be used for senior purpose.
All right, so based upon the comments that we've heard, the evidence that we have, the opinion from our borough attorney, does anyone have a motion?
I have a motion, Mayor. I'd like to move that we grant use to the fire department for this one-time usage to New York, New Jersey Joint Firefighters Parade, I believe.
New York Fire
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you. Okay. That's it. We have a work session consent agenda with 4 items on it. Does any member of the council want to pull out for separate consideration or discussion any of the items on the consent agenda? I have a motion to approve the consent
So moved.
agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have some unfinished business. Capital list? Alan, are you going to handle that, or?
No, if the council has a question
Okay.
on an item on the
Yep.
capital list,
Yep.
I'll be happy to try and address it.
Anybody have any questions on the capital list? Okay, Grove Street, we were supposed to have a field trip.
And we're going to reschedule
We're gonna
that to the
reschedule that?
next meeting on the 17th.
All right, we're going to have a field trip to Grove Street so we could decide on the parking issues over there. Valley Road.
I'm meeting with Mr. Costa Friday at 3:30 at the site to review the boundaries.
Okay. And I see Mr. Witters in the audience. Bus shelters, do you have any?
Mayor, I think on May 23rd or so, we sent off a list of questions that we would normally ask during a pre-construction meeting. They do not normally hold a pre-construction meeting. I sent a reminder to New Jersey Transit asking for a response to some of those questions. And once we receive those questions, we'll know how to handle the construction, whether there's any traffic issues or what to do with concrete pads, things like that. And then we'll be able to get the process started with the contractor, schedule it right out.
All right. Included with the unfinished business involving bus shelters, there was the discussion that we had at the last council meeting to investigate whether or not we could raise revenue through advertising on the bus shelters. We need our borough attorney to look into that issue, so if he could get whatever you need, the contracts from Mr. Negrian, and do your research, Tom, and report back to
Yep,
us.
he's provided me with what I need, and I'll get back to you, hopefully by the next meeting.
All right, and then there's the utility audit.
It's pending your signature, Mayor. I have sent a reminder off to Borough of Westwood asking for their reassurance that the utility audit falls within the scope of their cooperative pricing guidelines. I haven't received a response yet.
All right. Any new business?
I still have unfinished business.
Unfinished business, okay.
The ADA handicap door.
Yes,
Where was
I
that?
spoke with the architect today. We're still on schedule to have delivery of the door third week in June, which means construction would follow. He asked about the color of the door. I explained to him that the whole grant and doors, Borough Hall doors, under the guidance of the Historic Commission, so it would have to remain white. There was no choice there, and he said that would be fine. Then there was an issue with regard to the concrete pad. The contractor thought maybe he could do the job without removing the concrete pad. I referred him to John Lynch for the details on that. So everything is still on track at this point for the ADA doors.
How are we looking at Voorhees? I understand that the new catch basin was delivered and work had started again.
Yes, we've had several days of construction. They've put several of the chambers into the ground. It looks like the sidewalks are formed up now. I'm not sure when the pour will be. The rain, or the threat of rain, may have delayed the process slightly. I'm sure the borough engineer will be in touch with us to let us know when that's going to go back on track.
And the generator, has that been done?
Well, we're moving along. We did have the plumber in last week who made all the connections. I received a email notice today that Cummings, who is the manufacturer, has scheduled the startup for June 24th. So we've reached out to the police chief and John Lynch to let them know that the testing of the generator will occur at that time.
Any movement on the lightning detection system?
I drafted a form of agreement, a shared service agreement for all of the parties, including a resolution. I made a legal assignment to the borough attorney to take a look at that draft agreement, get a copy of it to the risk consultant. Once we receive their input back, we'll put it out for discussion among the other participating entities and see if they have any additional input or whether we have consensus on what the agreement and the terms of the agreement will look like. So that is another hand right now.
All right, one other thing. We all got a memo from John about the HVAC in this building, which seems to be unfinished business. So how can we proceed on this whole, he gave us the timeline, and it seems that the ball has dropped on this.
We've asked the committee to meet again and to take a look at the documents. We have a new member of that committee, so we'd like to give him the opportunity to look over those documents and then reestablish where we were on the long-range plan for the HVAC.
Seems like Mr. Patel is not being responsive, that there's been requests.
Who's on that committee?
Huh?
Councilman Mignon, Councilman Aquafrida.
No, just to Kathleen's point, the issue that I've explained it before is he made a recommendation for a system which is not much in use in the United States.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've asked him on numerous occasions to point us to recent installations or even case studies on how the system works, and he hasn't done so.
Right.
Because I don't think there are any. And that's how we left it. So I don't know if he doesn't want to have the same idea that he's going to want to see the system before we make an evaluation.
We
So
shouldn't be reinventing the wheel.
Yes.
Unless it's,
Because according to John, he says that he recommends doing the first thing.
Yes, but that's contrary to what the engineers recommend.
Right.
But we can't get hold of the engineer.
Well,
then
Well,
what?
we paid the
I
engineer.
haven't tried, Mayor, if I may, I haven't tried to reach out to him. And I have to go back through the information he sent us to see whether there were any viable, local examples. There may not have been any local examples, but it's worth going back through the information and reviewing that, and then reaching out to him, telling him we'd like to see a local example.
or I said even John wanted to be in touch with someone who's operating one of these systems to see
Right.
what the O&M requirements, how this refrigerant is stored, how it's used, if it's got to be topped off. John had a lot of operation and maintenance type questions that need to be addressed also before he was comfortable going with that system. But I think at the end of the day, John, not to speak for him directly, but based on my past discussions, he's more comfortable going with the traditional system. But I said if we can meet and talk to him and maybe come up with a plan.
Mayor,
What?
if we ask the engineer to attend our meeting, will he be charging the borough?
I would assume so. But there's no reason why we can't call Mr. Patel.
Alan, I will furnish with 2 or 3 available dates that were available and then transmit those to John. But Mr. Patel, I think he should, there should be an agreement to meet with us. We're all kind of speak the same language, for lack of better words, and we could be very straight and to the point with it.
Okay. Let's put the HVAC on the unfinished business list, please.
I just had a question about Fifth Avenue. How are we looking with progressing with that?
Sent a memo to Mr. Costa. I'd like to meet with him to actually define the anticipated geographic boundaries of the grant. That's essential because we have a special assessment process that has to take place, which means we have to identify the block and lots that will receive the new curbing so that appropriate billing can take place for the special assessments. That has to be determined before we can do a bond ordinance, because the bond council will need the designated block and lots to put into the ordinance so that we can then give the homeowners notice of the special assessments. So I've looked at the amount of work we've done on Howland and come up with my best guess as to how far the money will take us on Fifth Avenue, but I'm not the engineer. I have to ask the engineer to do his cost estimate and best guess on how much work we can have done and try and come up with that information. So it's a complicated process until we get to the stage where we get a bond ordinance going, which will take 60 days. Then we can get out the bid and make an award and get a contractor going.
Alan, did you have any, probably haven't had time yet to check with Mr. Costa on Howland Avenue?
No, I haven't spoken to him yet on the Howland Avenue issue, but it's on my
Following
list.
up on the Fifth Avenue question?
Yes, okay.
Alan, you had mentioned that the cooperative bids came in about $50,000 less than what we had budgeted. Was Mr. Lynch or Mr. Costa supposed to come up with some additional roads that
I've asked them jointly to have that discussion. We had that scheduled for Mr. Costa last week. We're going to try and have that on for the 17th, for him to come back and let you know what their best recommendation is. It's going to be $40,000 that they'll be able to utilize out of that amount of money. The $7,000 we're going to use for the change order on Howland, the stormwater improvement. So, but we'll schedule that for the 17th when we have the engineer in front of you.
All right, any new business?
Just a question, and I don't know if the chief could answer this, or maybe it's something John Lynch has to answer, but a couple of the stanchions that we placed on, on Kinderkamak and on Midland, I mean, they're looking bad already.
Reservoir.
Yeah, the one over there. Yeah, I mean, they're looking bad, they've been hit. Do we have a program to replace them? I mean, it's a great idea, but at the same time, you don't want the town looking like,
Blighted.
Yeah, blighted, and that's kind of what it's starting to, some of these are starting to look like. I mean, they need to be replaced.
We've replaced 9 already.
9 already. Yeah.
We're in a constant rotation. We replace ones that are completely removed from accidents where they're torn out of the ground first, and then other ones that's where it makes them unlegible.
Okay.
So they're constantly being monitored. There are, DPW will tell you, there are regular work orders in place every time one is missing or severely damaged, and we're running through. We have a stock of signs right now that we're using to replenish them at the present time.
How many do we have in reserve?
We've probably got about another 10 left.
It seems like some of them are kind of beat up on the surface, but is there like 6 stickers that you could just use to replace instead of the whole
some
thing?
of them can be replaced with just insert panels. The entire unit's not replaced at that time. In other cases, the entire unit is torn out of the ground and has to be replaced. So it's done on a case-by-case basis.
Ed?
It's an important intersection, but the one at Wayne and Bogart, today when I was going by there, there were cars parked along the east curb, and it was pretty tight getting through there. Can that one be moved maybe a little further south, or maybe they have to restrict parking closer to the curb there? Because you said it looked like it was like a bowling pin ready to get hit.
And if I could just join in on that, because I drive there every morning, because I drop off my girls. It makes you have to make a really weird kind of wide turn if you're making the left from Wayne onto Bogart. It's just a sort of a natural kind of turn to miss it.
Our traffic officers mapped that out for turning radius, but I will have them revisit that and make an assessment.
Okay.
And if it may be a case that just needs to be remarked, they can be replaced. Or moves in places in alternate locations.
All right, thank you. We still have to go into open session, then we still have to go into closed session, and we still have to open up our 8 o'clock meeting that we're late for. So is there any new business? No. All right. Can I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're open to the public for the work session. If any member of the public wants to get up and address the council, ask a question, make a comment. Okay? Yes, sir, you. Stand up, give us your name and address.
My name is Alan Peck, P-E-C-K.
Okay.
I live at 303 Woodland Avenue. I'm here because about 3 weeks ago, I came home and found a note on my door from the Shade Tree Commission that they were going to take down a tree that's been in front of my house for about 28 years, as long as I've been in that house. It's a big, gorgeous tree that has been part of my life for 28 years. In the last 3 weeks, I've made numerous attempts to reach out to the Shade Tree Commission to see if I could discuss with them, number one, why they're doing it, and number two, what my options are. I've been down to the Shade Tree Commission a dozen times. There's never anybody there. I called them the same amount of times. They have the arrogance to state on their phone message that they will not return phone calls. That's on their voicemail. I sent emails to all of you council members. Ms. Murphy was the only person that responded to me. That was about 10 days ago. And she said to me that she would look into it, get back to me. I haven't heard anything despite at least 2 phone calls to her office since then. I don't know why the Shade Tree Commission has decided they want to take down this tree. I'm told that it's decayed, but I don't see it. My landscaper has gone up and looked at it and doesn't see it. I want to know what my rights are. I want to know if the tree has to be taken down. If I don't want it replaced, can I vote for that? If it is to be replaced, do I have any say in the matter in what it's replaced with? I simply would like the ability to communicate with someone who has some information, has some authority, and is willing to talk to me. That's why I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Peck. I did get your email. I forwarded it to Liz Stewart. She provided me with a very curt response that the matter was taken care of. I responded back, and I tried to pull up the email so I could read it to you, but I couldn't find it. I emailed her back that was insufficient. I needed a better explanation. She gave me an explanation that, and I'm paraphrasing, that the tree had extensive carpenter ant and termite damage, that it was unsalvageable, which is the reason why Shade Tree made the determination that the tree should be removed. Because I think she said more than 40% of the tree is dead because of what I'm just telling you. I'm just repeating I'm paraphrasing her email. About 40% of the tree was dead due to termites. So that was the information she gave to me. In answer to your other questions, it's a borough shade tree. It's on the right-of-way. The Shade Tree Commission has jurisdiction over that tree, whether to take it down, whether to seek permission from you, the owner of the property, to put a new shade tree, to not have a shade tree if you didn't want one, to discuss with them the species of the tree that you would like to be replaced with, those kind of things.
I did get a phone message from Ms. Stewart telling me something like what you just said.
Right.
I don't see any decay. My landscaper sees no decay. And I would simply like the ability to talk with someone at Shade Tree so that I can confirm the information you just relayed to me.
Okay, all right. What you can, I think Shade Tree has a process where if you actually got your landscaper or an arborist or a tree guy to write a report, that you could actually go to the next. You're the Shade Tree liaison. You could go to the Shade Tree meeting, bring the report, and argue on your behalf that according to your arborist, the tree is not in danger of falling and harming the public.
She's a certified arborist as well, and yes, she is. They meet once a month. It's on the borough web's calendar. So I was going to call you to tell you to come down there, because once a month, anybody with a grievance or a complaint, it's in that the parking lot where the commuter parking lot is, by the train station.
Yeah. That's where the Shade Tree.
Yeah, they're all volunteers. She works at Ordell Animal Hospital. The people that are there volunteer, so they do meet once a month.
Are they meeting Thursday night?
Yeah.
This
No,
Thursday?
it's I think the third. If you go on the website, I have to check myself. The second or third Thursday.
Right.
At 7 o'clock down there. So I was going to recommend you do that. They're never usually in favor of cutting anything down, so it has to be something has to be pretty wrong for them to recommend that. But you can come down there and talk about it, and she did tell me she called you, so it's better just to go in person, and I'll be there. And
Thursday?
Yeah, it's
at your office?
Yes.
It's June 20th at 7 o'clock.
June 20th, 7 o'clock at that little building. Thank you, Alphonse. Any other questions from the public? Yes.
Mark Witter, 135 Valley Road, River Edge. Evidently, I'm gaining a fair amount of notoriety, I guess. I was here about a month ago. I talked about the situation with the tree that fell during Sandy and the damage and cleaning it up properly. You had asked me to leave my phone number. You were going to call me and make an appointment, come and take a look. I waited about 10 days or 2 weeks, didn't hear from you. I called tomorrow. I left a message with the county clerk, the town clerk, with my name and number again. I still haven't heard anything. I'm a little bit confused. It's ironic you hired you just, I guess, hired a code enforcement officer.
Right, right.
If there was a messy, nasty-looking condition on the front of my house, that code officer now, he would be there fairly quickly, and I would be a victim of, well, I guess, whatever the process is, formally notified. But because it's in the back of my house, and it's your property, not mine, I don't seem to be getting any attention. I understand that it's in the back, and I understand that my life will go on, but one of the reasons I bought that house, and I had a little bit of privacy in my backyard. It was a piece of parcel of land that my wife and I enjoy. I can't proceed because if I do all of the new work that I want to do back there, and my name comes up on the shade tree lottery list, when you finally come down to my backyard to do this, you're going to have to destroy everything that I'm going to put in. So then we're going to go back to the situation that we had a few months ago where I had to come and ask for, revenues to take care of what is your responsibility. So I'm stuck.
All right.
And it doesn't seem to have much importance to anybody. I'm not sure why that is.
No.
Alan said they're going down to your home at 3:30 on Friday.
Oh.
The engineer, right?
Yeah, we're looking at the property.
That's a different issue. That's a different issue.
The boundary dispute.
There's a boundary dispute with the properties that may include Mr. Witter's.
Right.
So when they're down there,
Boundary dispute? I don't know anything about that either.
when is that scheduled for?
3:30 Friday.
We'll be there 3:30 Friday. While we're looking at the boundaries, we'll look at your complaint of the dead wood that the DPW left behind your property, which you would like removed. That's it, right? Okay. I don't know about the stump, because we have as you heard at the last meeting, we have a stump list. That's 300 stumps on the list, and you're not. I'm the bearer of bad news, but you're not at the top of the list, Mr. Witter.
But that puts, I understand.
But I understand that there's a partially. That there's a trunk of a tree that's laying on its side.
It's all part of the same thing. The issue is the same, that if I'm number 300, since they don't get done very often, let's say it's 3 years from now, somebody comes to the back of my house to get rid of the stump. To get to it, you're going to have to drive a backhoe across my property. That will destroy everything that I'm in the process of repairing. If they came now, we'd only have to do this once, not twice. I don't know.
We'll make a determination on Friday when we look at the property, because we have to figure out where the boundary is.
Okay. Can I ask the question about, now there's some confusion about the property line. I'm only there 30 years. So,
Yeah.
Will you be there on Friday?
I can check my calendar. I would imagine.
Between now and Friday, maybe, you can help the situation if you found a deed or a survey to your property, so that we could find out exactly where the line is. We just want, if you're going to do all this work, don't you want to make sure that you're doing it on the correct spot?
Well, where your tree is so far past my property that I don't need a deed for that.
I haven't been there, so I don't know.
I know you.
But I'll be there on Friday.
Where this tree is not within any near proximity to my boundary line, so it's not a question of whether it's my property or not. That much I know it's not, so.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you, Mr. Witter. Can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved.
Second. Motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, can I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Motion to go into closed session. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna
The judge made it very clear she had to look at it in the light most favorable to the plaintiff. And,
All right, this is the meeting of the mayor and council for Monday, June 3rd, 2013. It's a public work session, supposedly scheduled to begin at 8 p.m., but we were running late because of the closed session. If everyone could stand for a moment of silent prayer or reflection, and in doing so, if we could please remember our former tax collector for 21 years, Ricky Quinn, who recently passed away. Could we also remember Senator Frank Lautenberg, who passed away early this morning, New Jersey's longest serving senator for 25 years in Congress. Could Councilman Mignon lead us in a salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place posted in the Borough Hall, and notices were mailed to the Record and the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy to safeguard the infrastructure, provide honest, courteous, and professional services, establishing a sense of trust and accomplishment with our residents. We do this through research and prudent planning, seeking to minimize risks while improving municipal services. We are sensitive to the needs of our taxpayers while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people within the revenue constraints that are imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. We are on the record. Everything that is being said is being recorded on audio tape. We have a videotape as well. During the public portion of the meeting, if you wish to be seen as well as heard, you need to stand up, give us your name and address. If you wish to be recorded on the video, you need to approach the microphone in the front of the council chambers. There are 3 exits in the court in the council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the rear. Can I have a roll call, please? Denise.
Here.
Present.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Present. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the mayor and council for the work session and regular meeting of May 20th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the mayor and council for the work session meeting of May 28th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed and abstained? We have 1 abstention, Denise. We have no proclamation or awards this evening. We have some appointments and personnel changes. One is to approve the resignation of Christopher Weissman, the mechanic in the Department of Public Works, effective June 28, 2013. I understand Mr. Weissman is selling his residence and moving out of town. Can I have a motion to approve that resignation?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Motion to approve the appointment of Lisa Malvey, 770 Oak Avenue, to the Special Events Committee for a 2-year term effective June 4th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Lisa Malvey is not in the audience. I do have her oath here that she can be sworn in by the borough clerk at a later point in time. Can I have a motion to approve the resignation of Robert Nyman from the planning board effective June 1st, 2013?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Mayor, just want to say, I know, I think Bob has only been on the board about 2.5 years, but, and not just because he was a fellow engineer and a fellow co-alumni, I think he did a great job. He was very insightful and was a great asset to the board, and we'll miss him.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the separation of John Slattery, school crossing guard, effective May 31st, 2013?
Second.
There we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the retirement of Lieutenant Richard J. Curran of the River Edge Police Department effective August 31st, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? While we're on the issue of Lieutenant Curran, would anybody like to make a motion so that we can have the appropriate plaque or anything?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Or is it done already? Done already, very good. All right.
Retroactively, can we
Very good.
ask for a plaque?
All right, we'll ratify that decision, Denise. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the hiring of camp staff from July 1st, 2013
So
through
moved.
August the 2nd, as per the list on file with the Borough Clerk's office?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, we have various correspondence for review at the clerk's office. The items of correspondence are listed on the agenda, and same are available for review from the borough clerk. We have no monthly reports this month. We have an ordinance on for first reading, which is ordinance number 1790. Madam Clerk, can you read the title?
An ordinance to provide for open-air sidewalk cafes within the borough of River Edge.
Okay. This is a ordinance to allow for outdoor dining. It was first introduced or proposed by Councilwoman Murphy, who gave some ordinances from other towns, distributed them. It went to our borough attorney. Our borough attorney drafted the ordinance. We discussed it at a work session and made suggested changes. The changes, I believe, have been incorporated into the ordinance that are listed, that is listed now in our package. It's now on for a first reading. After we take the vote on the first reading, then we're going to advertise it and publish the ordinance and put it on for a public hearing and final adoption. Is there anyone move the ordinance for
So
first
moved.
reading? Second. The sponsor moved it, second by Council President. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Macafetta?
Yes.
Councilman Paula?
Yes.
Councilman McDonald?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
And Councilman Cavalier?
Yes.
All right. This will be published and will be listed for a public hearing and a final adoption. We have resolutions on the list beginning at Resolution 13-221 and going through the payment of bills 13-240. Is there any resolution which any member of the council wants to pull out for separate discussion or vote? Councilwoman Murphy.
13-227 and 13-238.
13-227 and 13-228. Are you pulling them out for
No, I just wanted to,
discussion?
discuss.
Okay.
I just want to let the public know, on 13-227, when somebody puts a white good out, it becomes a borough property. So apparently this person put out two things, and one of them was taken. So we get money for these items, so that's actually theft. So don't do it.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
To the thieves
Yeah.
watching us.
And then,
We could have a long legal discussion on whether or not that constitutes theft after it's been abandoned in the public right away, but, okay.
Well, they paid money for us to come take it, so they were, it was a transaction between the borough and the people.
We had to refund the money for
Right.
them. I think once, I had a similar case when I was on the bench, but, and I don't want to get into a long, but the gentleman or the suspect didn't remove it from the sidewalk.
Mhm.
He removed it from the DPW. And after it was transported to the DPW, it became our property, so he could be prosecuted. His excuse that the property had been abandoned didn't work once we took possession of it.
Well, there is one gentleman, you know who you are, you drive a blue van, leave our recyclables alone.
All right, and 328, you're,
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Alan about this. This forfeiture money, that goes to the county? We don't get that?
No, we don't get it directly, because it goes into an account for River Edge at the county. So, we sold the vehicle, we have to make the payment over to the county fund, but it's my understanding that it's earmarked for the River Edge Police Department.
So then they write us a check?
No.
And, yeah, that-
For some future
eligible-
use. Yeah, it's got to be an eligible expense. You would
Right.
apply to the county prosecutor's office, say, we need to buy this piece of equipment, and then if there's enough in your forfeiture, they'll approve it and pay for it. And
Is
you're
there like a
certain-
time frame where you have to spend
No.
that money?
No.
It's
There's only,
indefinite?
yeah, you can accumulate it, of course.
That's it?
I think there's enough in the fund for them to buy a vehicle for code enforcement.
Perhaps.
Oh, well, okay, any other separate resolutions, Alphonse?
Yes, Mayor, number 13-224.
224. You're just pulling out for a separate vote?
Yeah, pulling out for a separate vote. If you would like to have discussion on it.
Okay. Premier Product Development, is that Mr.,
That is Mr.
that's Tom Miller?
Tom Miller,
Yes,
yeah.
that's Tom Miller's
That's his
company? Okay. All right. We'll have a separate vote on that item. 13, can I have a motion to move by consent 13-221 through 13-223?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we'll do by consent 13-225 up to 13-239.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to do 13-240, the payment of bills separately as tradition. And finally, we'll have if someone would like to move 13-224 for the engineering for the open space application for Cherry Blossom Park.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Now we can open it up for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. My objection is, well, it's my continuing objection. We don't know how we're going to, once this work is done and paid for, whatever the amount is, I know we appropriated, I guess, up to $3,000 for this work. I still have not gotten a satisfactory answer as to how these improvements that he's listing are going to actually be paid for, whether the monies would come from open space, whether it would be bonded for. So I don't see why we would spend money on engineering, taking away from our engineering line and spending it on this when we don't know how we're going to actually spend to do the improvements. Additionally, just like we signed tonight those plans over there for the outfall project, we've never actually done that for plans for this park. We've never signed plans. We never formally adopted plans, and yet on plans that were never formally adopted, we're going and asking, I don't know if he's an engineer or an architect, to give us a cost estimate so that we can go out for another grant and potentially spend additional monies that require a matching grant, which I don't know where that money's coming from. So that's my objection to going forward with this resolution.
Okay. Ed?
And I agree with Al's reasoning. Also, I think that the proposal we got was vague. We have already previously paid this firm, I don't remember, Alan can check, maybe $6,500 originally to do the original concept plan, and now we're asking for $3,000 for what I thought were unspecified changes. So for the reasons Councilman Bartoloni spoke before, and what I'm saying now about the proposal as it was presented, I'm not supporting this.
Okay. Vito?
The plans we signed tonight, it's a construction set. It's going out to bid. The plans that have been carried forth on the proposed park are conceptual drawings that, we need to define the word plan. Conceptual drawings don't get signed and sealed, not in my world. Mr. Tom Miller is a PE. He's not a landscape architect either. So, yet the firm he used to work with, and the new firm he's working with, apparently does this kind of public improvement projects, if you may call it. So, it's a vehicle that's needed to apply for additional open space funds. These are not, it's one drawing, and I even have questions, because I certainly don't want Tom Miller to keep the title block that has my name on it. My revisions were done as an accommodation to the town to collect those 4 or 5 comments that have been made by beautification and by rec, and put them on a piece of paper. And yes, some of those comments included the tree farm. That's all it was. It used to be on a yellow tracing paper with a red pen. At my expense, I hired the draftsman to put them into a more presentable way. You haven't seen a bill, you will not see a bill, not for my draftsman cost or my own. That's all it is. So, Tom Miller is charging, well, I think what he wanted was less than 3,000. We chose to bring it up to 3,000. That's fine. But I'm going to have a big problem if I see my title block still in those drawings with Mr. Miller. So I'm going along with this because we need this. We need this to get to the next stage. But I'll be darned if somebody tried to throw a fastball on the outside part of the plate in hopes that I swing at it. So that's all. And as far as the ordinances, we really need to define what the ordinance means by the word plans. Because in my world, and I guess to a certain Ed's world, I'm sorry Ed, I have to drag you into this. Plans is, you have 5 different levels of plans. That one is the last level. You sign off, you go out to bid. That's all.
All right, can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor?
We're going to have a roll call. You had a comment already, Councilman.
I think I'm entitled to one more comment, Mayor.
I think we're entitled to take a up or down vote.
Just like to make one brief comment.
When we have council comments, you can comment all you want.
Well, at that point, the vote will already have been taken, Mayor.
That's right. It'll already it would already have been taken.
And negating my ability to maybe sway members of the council.
I don't think that's going to happen. Can I have a roll call, please, Denise?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Aquafero?
Yes.
Councilman Cola?
No.
Councilman No?
No?
Councilman Barone?
No.
Councilman Cabrera?
Yes. Yes. All right. Ed, can you read payment of the bills?
Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee. Now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Excuse me. Current account, $402,119.09. Capital account, $5,774.09. Recreation account, $2,194.59. Self-insurance account, $17,635.10. Trust other account, $11,063.98. Trust other developers account, $1,856.95. Open space account, $3,899.09. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you. Can I have a motion to open the hearing to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the meeting is open to the public. If any member of the public wishes to make a comment, make a statement, ask a question, all they need to do is identify themselves, give us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Lou Grasso. I live at 172 Loder Terrace.
How are you, Lou?
Good. As you know, I'm a property owner at 4846 Street, Connect. In regards to the gentlemen that were here earlier discussing the planning and everything else, I mean, my feeling is much of it has to do, the big picture is the parking situation. It's almost like, to me, if the parking situation is improved, everything else will sort of fall into place. I mean, you look at any type of business that has, I mean, the Dunkin' Donuts, for example, I mean, the parking isn't fantastic, but it has parking, and the fact that it has some parking, it attracted a well-known franchise, and it's a thriving place. I'm sure at the other end of town, you know, they're going to have a lot of parking there, and they're not going to really have any problem attracting tenants. Once there's, you know, an area like River Edge that has a, you know, relative to a lot of places in Bergen County, northern New Jersey, a high household income, and there's vacant space, the realtors are not going to have to really be sought after. They're going to come. They're going to say, there's vacant space in River Edge. This is the per capita income. You know, we know businesses are going to come here. So that's...
Do you have a vacancy in your building now?
Yes, I have one vacancy.
What did it have in it before?
Beauty salon.
Beauty salon?
Yes.
Is there, is anybody interested? Is anybody biting at it? Nothing?
I've had a few people, I mean, that, nothing that fits the bill for me. I mean, I had one person that was interested in putting a pizzeria, and I mean, there's already a pizzeria half a block
We
away.
can't have enough pizzerias.
We already have 5.
We need more pizza. The other person that I had, I mean, I'm very fussy. I listed it with a realtor. That's one of these, like, flat fee MLS places that you just pay the $200 or something.
They're advertising it?
And it goes on the MLS, which is my major thing. I want to be able to really, like, speak to each tenant and meet them. I don't want just someone to bring a tenant and say, here, I have a tenant, I did my job, and this is the tenant. And, you know, I want someone that's going to fit in, you know, have a viable business that I think is going to work there, as opposed to just renting and signing the lease. And, you know, it seems like some businesses, you know, in an area like this, it's almost doomed to failure. I mean, if you had a clothing store or something, I've seen so many of them just come and go. It's unlikely. Where if you have certain businesses, you know, have a better chance of surviving. That's really what I'm, you know, looking to do. I mean, the other one I had was somebody wanted to put a hair salon, but I already have a barber. Right. And even though they said they're not going to do men, you know, I discussed it with the barber, and if it turns out things are a little slow, and, you know, a hair salon, they might be charging $30 instead of $15 like the barber, they're probably going to take somebody here and there. So then, you know, he's going to get angry with me, and so whatever that. So you have to find the right, you know, match for the space. But
well, we're, you know, one of the 3 items that are that Mr. Smart will be looking into is how best to do some shopper parking up there on in your section on Kinder-Kamak Road, and you know exactly how we should get that done. Should we do it through a partnership with the businesses? Should we go it alone? Should we try to go out and get grant money? Should we do you know, less expensive parking down below on Grove Street? Should we do more expensive parking by having something street level and doing the, you know, engineering? That's all things that are on the table, and we're going to consider when Mr. Smart comes back, and the whole process, you know, he said should come together and gel by the end of October, so that's what we're shooting for.
is it, I don't know what the actual process is, but I know 2 weeks ago, when there was a meeting, I had mentioned to the Rob Costa that he was going to look into, I think, give some preliminary cost estimates on how much the grade level parking would be, and...
Yep. He hasn't gotten back to us yet. I know we had a field trip that we were all going to take down there planned, but it got rained out, and we're going to reschedule it for this week or next week if the weather holds out, so we can all go down there and look at it together and figure out a way that we can just relieve the parking, you know, give you guys some parking temporarily.
Right.
In connection with amending the parking ordinance so that the tenants, your commercial tenants, could qualify to get permits to park in a restricted area. So.
What type of, I'm not sure what you mean by the restriction.
Right now we have an ordinance that allows residents to buy a parking permit so that they can so they can park in a designated lot and take mass transit.
Right, down on River Edge Road.
Right, River Edge Road. Right now, if you're a commercial tenant, we can't sell you a permit. But we would like to amend one of the proposals is to amend the ordinance so that a commercial tenant could get a permit so that their employee can park in a designated spot to relieve some of the some of the,
Street parking.
some of the street parking, you
Right.
know, those kind of things.
Yeah, and that other area, I know one of the plans that Borough Engineer was going to work on was making spaces or something where those
Yep,
boulders
yep.
are further down. That would be pretty convenient for a lot of the businesses there that have, you know, you mentioned, it's talked about much about the jeweler with all the employees. I mean, if you look back there, if you walk up and you walk through that strip of land the borough owns, most of those buildings that are just south of Grove Street, they all have rear entrances with, staircases and things like that. So if there was parking where those cement slabs are that are tiered, people could walk up and walk through the borough land and right to the back of the building. So I think it'd be ideal for a lot of the...
It would be,
businesses and
especially if
customers.
those property owners that live along the easement would improve their backyards, if they would, excavate and make their backyards the same grade as the easement. You could actually have parking spaces back there.
Right.
But that would require them to, that would require us to first open the easement up for public use, and then to get them to hire a contractor to improve their rear yards to accommodate some parking.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that would be good.
It would be a good idea.
What were the other options you had just mentioned about if it was grade level parking? You said there were different options.
One of the
as far
options
as
that Councilman...
A loan or a grant?
One of the options that Councilman Mignon suggested was to get a price on grade level parking by, doing a series of retaining walls. But, Ed is an engineer. He could answer the question better than I.
That was basically it. I still think the success of the parking for shoppers is to have it grade level.
I agree.
And I think that if we can accommodate some additional spaces down for employees, that's a win-win also.
Right,
So
that
I
doesn't
think
have to be
it's
as
there.
convenient.
But I think if we were able to get the employee parking situation resolved, that would obviously free up some of the existing street spaces and at least make it a little more fluid for you up there. So we're waiting on meeting with Mr. Costa and hearing back from him, and we'll make the decisions on where we're going to go.
Right. As far as the grade level parking, what would the options be as far as where the money would come from? I mean, you mentioned like some type of loan or grant, or there could be what I had mentioned in the very beginning, some type of special assessment.
I think that's what the mayor was speaking of, that Mr. Smart will help us look at whether it's going to be part of an improvement district where it may be a collection of all the business owners or some certain owners, or maybe a borough-funded project. It depends on a lot of different issues, I think. And if we're able to use some of the other properties adjacent, like the mayor was saying behind, then maybe it would be a partnership with some of the individual landowners. But I think those are questions that need to be answered once we actually have some idea what the costs are and what's going to be feasible there.
Right. Obviously, the more people that were thrown into it, the greater chance of approval, because
But
the cost per...
then we got to also look at it as a localized benefit. So
Yes.
there's only a certain area where people would be willing to park there and walk. So, if I'm, where Dante's is, I don't know if I want to worry about paying towards, a parking lot. So, there's a lot of funding questions
really,
that come up.
that would be the case. It couldn't be any wider than between, Washington and Lincoln.
And then,
Nobody
at
would
least
benefit.
from my perspective, then we have to look, is that the best way to allocate taxpayer money to have a limited benefit? And it may be, but that's one of the things we're going to have to consider when we get to that.
Sounds good.
All right, Lou, thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to make a comment or ask a question?
Ellen Buxley, 597 Bogart Road. I was pleased to be here for the discussion with Mr. Smart and Mr. Gordon. I think progress is being made, and I think that's fantastic, and the whole community will benefit. I liked what he had to say about working towards a common cause, and that there's visioning plans that would include 2 public forums. He did say that there will be 3 key stakeholders, and I only heard him mention the commercial property owners and the business operators. I do hope that from this discussion we just had with the gentleman here, the public does still need a voice in this whole process. So I would ask you to continue to move in that direction of including the public as either a stakeholder or in another way for their comments to be included.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Carroll.
Neil Carroll, 321 Wales Avenue. I was curious where we are on the project between Colonial Court and Bogart Road on Howland Avenue, where we are in the process.
Well,
We 90%, 100%?
yeah, I mean, no, yeah, we're 80-90%, but I think there's a couple of telephone poles that have to be moved.
That was what
And I have to
spotted.
speak with Mr. Costa as to when those are going to be removed, because the project won't be complete until they're first moved. So I think that's the next obstacle that we have to overcome.
And
but-
speaking of that obstacle, the curb is in, the sidewalk is in. If anybody's seen the public service truck that digs the hole for the pole, you know, are we going to disturb what we already have created in order to put the new pole in place?
I don't know, I don't know where that pole is going, so Mr. Costa will have to...
I'm
make that
assuming, I'm hoping
determination.
it just goes straight back.
Yeah.
Because of the wiring, hopefully, it looks like it's going to be close. And the other one is your topic as well, the generator. It's a Monday when Cummings is coming, and I know Denise doesn't like Mondays for any electrical problems in the building, because it's the last Monday of the month. I'm assuming, I know you said there was a meeting on June 17th, but is there one on June 24th?
But Neil, it's
It's not
interesting.
going to be that long.
Yeah, but, no, the start would be 2 days, but if you, the email chain I saw was, it said the 24th, I mean, the 25th and 26th, and for some reason, Kendall Percy said the 24th, so I think they need to clarify which 2 days, because it looked like the original email from Cummins to Van Orr said the 25th and 26th, so that's the Tuesday and Wednesday.
Otherwise, we might interfere with the courts that night.
Possible, but I think the start, I mean, I think the load test will be done early in the day. I don't think it's
I
going to
think
be...
we have to assess according to the chief and I, the only thing is Cummings going to come in and train the police and the DPW and run the unit. We believe there'll be a second event where they'll actually do the various tests on the building.
That's why they said they need 2
And then
days.
how far away is that going to be, since I think yesterday we started the hurricane season?
They said they needed 2 days, so I'm assuming they're going to do it that Tuesday and that Wednesday. Tuesday will be the training, Wednesday...
Good luck. I mean, we have a previous track record, and I'm just hoping that we learned from our mistakes on the last one.
All right, thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to be heard? Can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you. All right, council comments. Councilman Papaleo.
No comments tonight, Mayor, thank you.
All right. Alphonse.
Thank you, Mayor. Disappointed, Mayor. That's really how I'd like to start off. It's interesting in that both versions of the bylaws that we submitted permit council members to speak for at least 5 minutes, and the version I submitted allows the council member to at least speak twice before limiting debate. And I was cut off simply because I guess you just didn't care what I had to say, or you didn't value it enough for it to be presented to the public. So I'm disappointed. People might think that I have this grand opposition to this park or something like that, and I don't. I don't think it was wise to buy it. I don't think it's wise to continue to invest in it. But more importantly, it's been the practice and procedure of getting this done that I've really objected to, because I don't think there's been a fair and open discussion on it. And at every step, it seems like discussion regarding it is silenced. So that is my disappointment. I would hope at some point this council could move forward on the bylaws so that we could have some rules in place as to how our meetings are governed, and it's not just however the chair sees fit to govern the meeting that day. This council has to make a decision. Do you want, and really this is the main difference between the two versions, do you want the mayor telling you what liaison to what committee you should be? Or should this council, this independent body, make that determination for itself? That's really one of the main differences between the two. Should one person tell you what you should do, or should you, as a separate governing body, make that determination for yourself as to what liaison, who you should be the liaison to? But we should make a decision, because the way our meetings are run sometimes, I think, is just inappropriate and not done the way that at least Robert's rules would set them forth. So I am glad that we had Mr. Smart here today. I'm glad that he set forth the timeline of getting back to us probably about September and then again in December. I think it's important. It is overdue. I think prior councils wasted time and treasure on redevelopment projects in the south end of town that didn't go anywhere, and they allowed the Kinderkamak corridor to go dark in a lot of areas. So hopefully this is a really positive step in moving it forward. And that's it. Thank you.
Ed?
Yeah, I'm also glad we had Mr. Smart tonight. I think, like I've always said, you got to get the information first before you can make decisions, and I think he's got a good approach. He's going to get us the right information, and at least we'll have the knowledge on how we're going to go forward, so I think that's a good thing. And I got to agree with Councilman Bartoloni. I mean, I think we should have as much debate in the council as we need to have. Until things get either acrimonious or completely redundant, I don't see a reason why you should stifle any one council member from making additional comments, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Anthony?
No comments, Mayor, thank you.
Vito?
I'm looking forward. I was pleased to finally meet Mr. Smart and Mr. Gordon. I think their heart is in the right place, so I'm looking forward to work with them as a council member and support and debate their initiatives and recommendations that they'll be making. Really, that's all.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to send my condolences to the Lautenberg family for the loss of Frank Lautenberg. He was a hard worker, and he was a remarkable person, served our country. So, R.I.P. Frank Lautenberg. I'd also like to remind everybody for the ceremonial invitation for Joe Maggieri Crossing this Wednesday, June 5th at 10 a.m. Joe will be presented with his sign, and we hope to all be there when that happens. SCORE is having their final June 24th. They're going to have a little song review, so everyone's invited to that at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow is the primary. Please vote. 8 a.m., I believe, or 7 a.m.?
6 a.m.
6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Thank you. So everyone go out and vote in the primary. I would also like to thank Chris Weissman and Rich Curran for all the work that they have done in the borough as far as DPW and police, as well as being volunteer firemen. Their shoes will be hard to fill. They were here for a long time, and they really contributed greatly in volunteer capacity as well as working for the borough. And I'd also like to say, as far as the bylaws go, none have been adopted. So there's nothing, no 5-minute mark, nothing's been adopted. We adopted Robert's rules according to your recommendation.
No,
So, I'm speaking.
we didn't.
So we've never voted on those bylaws. So, there's no 5 minutes, there's no go back for second discussion. I'm speaking. Robert's rules. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming out to the meeting. Last week, our DPW received its new tree truck. It's a beauty. It's going to be, if it's not registered already, it's being registered. It's getting the decals put on it. The manufacturer was here to train the DPW workers on the new truck. I understand that the old truck is going to go up for auction. I don't know if Denise received information from John Lynch, but that's what John Lynch told me, that he has a particular asking price for the old truck, the old tree truck. Regarding Cherry Blossom Park, again, just so the record is clear, the request made to hire Mr. Miller's new firm was from the Recreation Commission itself. It's not a one-man project. The Cherry Blossom Park is under the jurisdiction of the Recreation Commission. The tree farm portion of it is coming along very nicely. The fence was installed. The irrigation system, there is a one main line now that's been installed. We are waiting United Water to put in a meter so that we can have the irrigation company back to finish its work. We have about 200 seedlings planted in buckets. We have about another 25 to go. Kathleen and I, if the weather holds up, will do them this week and get them all in the ground. We lost some of the seedlings just due to the fact of weather, but they were free anyway, so we didn't have to pay for them. In next year's request from the New Jersey Tree Federation, we can request additional seedlings to replace the ones that were lost to the natural elements. Please, everybody, try to make Wednesday's dedication of Joe Magiri Crossing in front of the Cherry Hill School at 10 a.m. On Sunday, we have the Eagle Scout award this year, and Mr. Nyman's son is getting an Eagle Scout award, isn't he?
Yes.
Bob Nyman's son is receiving an Eagle Scout award at St. Peter's. And please remember to vote tomorrow in the primary election.
Riverkeeper Cup, Mayor's Cup.
What?
The Mayor's Cup.
Oh, the Mayor's Cup, yeah. On Saturday at the Oradell Reservoir in Hallworth, we had the 5th annual Mayor's Cup Challenge kayak race at the reservoir. Last year I came in 4th. This year I moved it up, I came in 3rd. The winner for 3 years in a row has been Mayor Sawinski from Demarest, who happens to be a caretaker of who works for United Water and is a caretaker of the Oradell Reservoir, and he gets to paddle there anytime he wants, so he's always one step ahead. He knows the waters. He knows the waters. He knows
Not a raging rapid.
He knows where every wave is.
Make a hole in the sky.
And always giving him a hard time is the mayor of Westwood, John Berkner. But if I didn't have a collision on the course, I may have even given them a run for their money. But
Somebody get a violin.
My kayak ran into the kayak from the mayor of Alpine, Paul Tomasco. We had a collision on the course, which slowed me down. But I'm working on. I'm going to be training Anthony, because I hear that Anthony is
I'm your ringer.
Is a triathlete, and if he can beat me in a kayak race, then I'll have him sit in for me next year.
It's going to be Burgess Meredith to Rocky.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll be the Burgess Meredith.
Catch a chicken.
And that's it. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.